PicksWise is the #1 home of free sports betting picks, props, and parlays. Helmed by a team of trend-watching, data-devouring sports fanatics giving you the who, how, and why behind every prediction. For every game, every day, and every sport, all for free, visit PicksWise.com to make your next bet better. PicksWise backs responsible gambling. If you or someone you know wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Spin me right round, baby, like a record, baby, right, round. I'm talking to you, the listener, talking to you, my sidekick host, Brandon. This is the voice of Nick Amell, the host of the Tennis Podcast, the record of the future.
This is the voice of me, the sidekick host, Brandon. You said the what of the future?
The record, because I was thinking about a record. You spin me right round, baby, like a record, baby.
Well, I don't know how to segue at all into today's list.
You're welcome.
So that's going to be my segue. Well, I guess first I need to tell you what we do here.
That'd be ideal.
What we do here on this here podcast is each week, one of us brings a list. Could be 10 things. Most of the time it's 10. Could be less, could be more. And the other one tries to guess the things that are on those lists. And you can participate at home, in the car, on top of a skyscraper, hanging from a tree branch, swinging from a vine, whatever you're doing.
Yes. But you can also write down your guesses ahead of time. Just pause the show right now, write down your guesses, see if you get them right. You can write on a piece of paper. You can write on a computer screen. You can take a knife and carve your guesses into your belly.
And if you send them in to our P.O. box, we'll send you out a windbreaker. Tell them where they can send those scraps of their flesh.
You can send them to P.O. Box 666. And okay. I think it's time to get to that list. What is it?
Here's the list. Today we're talking about the worst states to live in America in 2021.
Oh, okay. So all of them. Done.
Yeah. These are the top 10 of the... I guess if they're all the worst, which are the worst of the worst?
The worst.
CNBC released and I put quotations around study this year. I don't know if CNBC is qualified to be doing studies, but they did something called America's Top States for Business. And it takes into account factors like companies that allow remote work and have a good work-life balance. It takes into account public health systems, hospital capacity, inclusivity, and protection from discrimination, on top of basic quality of life measures that you find in best places to live, like crime rates and environmental quality. So these are the 10 worst of that list, according to CNBC's data. And this comes from a report online, a recent report this July from Scott Cohn of CNBC.
That was my question. So it is July 2021 this was published?
Yeah.
Okay, go good. We got some recent data here.
Yeah, and they factor in recent political happenings too, very heavily. This is a very NBC line of the cable news ecosphere. This is more on the left side. So they're focusing more on the political activities that are being perpetrated on people that are mostly perpetrated by the right. So that factors heavily into this.
That's a critical point, because before you said that, I was thinking, well, you know, you and I might think Florida is one of the worst states to live in, but a fucking right-wing Trumper might think
one of the best.
Florida's the future. Florida needs to break off and be its own country. So yes,
break off the cock of the nation.
So then if I'm hearing you right, that means the states on this list are what generally the left would consider the worst states.
Yeah, you could say it.
Fair?
You could say it that way. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
The sane people in the country.
You know, we are fucking fair and balanced here, because here's what we're going to do.
It's true.
For each state you guess, I'm going to give you the reason that CNBC said this is one of the worst places to live. But then you and I, just from our general knowledge about these beautiful states, 50 states of ours in America, are going to point out all the good points about that place.
Might have to rack our brain for a few of those. And for context, listeners at home, keep in mind me and Brandon are left-leaning liberals in Tulsa, Oklahoma area, a very red state. So that does color our opinions a little bit.
Did you just call me colored?
Okay, well, and that's okay. Maybe not in Oklahoma, it's not okay, but for me, it's okay.
Start guessing states.
Yeah. Well, I said Florida. I'm going to guess these are ranked, right?
These are these are Scott Cohn's top 10 worst shitholes in America. He didn't title his article like that. I might be putting words in his mouth. I might be editorializing.
But not too much, probably.
No.
I'm going to guess Florida is number 2 or 3.
You might be surprised. Florida is not in the top 10.
Yeah, well, it's fair because,
This was written right before the Delta surge, so maybe that would have factored into Scott Cohn's assessment.
Well, let me tell you why I picked it. Because I go to Florida a lot. I actually, as far as like the shit to do and the climate, I like going there and the beaches.
Yeah.
So it has a lot going for it, as far as a lot of tourist stuff as well. But Florida's in the news a lot right now because politically it sucks. And also the Delta variant is like raging havoc there right now. So that's why I guessed it. But it's not in the top 10, you're saying.
I almost did a top 10 states for the Delta variant. And then I thought, man, by the time this comes out, who knows? Who knows how bad it would be?
Yeah. Well, see, there's color again. This is affecting me a little bit because, I might guess, and I'm not guessing this yet, but one might guess the state of Texas for the same reasons as Florida, right? The governor's a jackass.
That would be
But Texas also has a lot going for it. It has beaches, it's huge. You can go to some parts of Texas that are really cool. So I say all that, I'm going back and forth. I'm going to guess Texas is in the top 10, but in the bottom half of the top 10, which would, I guess, be the best half of the top 10 to be in.
Well, prepare to have the right wing of your face slapped. It's number 2 on the list.
Oh.
It's Scott Cohn's second biggest shithole in the world. No, I mean America. Now, Texas is number 10 on the list. It says, for all its strength as a place to do business, Texas keeps trying to outdo itself when it comes to laws and policies that are seen as exclusionary.
Yeah.
It's one of the only states with no public accommodation law to protect against discrimination. It's a right-to-work state. I think Oklahoma is as well. Texas Democrats thwarted a bill that would have further restricted voting in a state that is already, by some measures, the hardest to vote in. That likely saved the Lone Star State from finishing at the bottom of this list, though Governor Greg Abbott and legislators are pushing ahead in a new special session to pass the legislation. Democratic lawmakers fled the state as a way to slow down the process and draw national attention. Well, the Texas State Senate...
Brandon, take a breath. Jesus.
Well, I was trying to get through the rest of that. But yeah, they got a bunch of political tomfoolery. And that's all this says. That's like the...
But it's a lot. It's a lot.
In their system of scoring, it scored a life, health, and inclusion score of 104 out of 375.
Wow.
Its strength is in hospital resources.
Okay.
Its weaknesses are inclusiveness, health, voting rights, and public health funding. But they have...
You said it scored well in that last one?
Those were their weaknesses.
Oh.
Yeah, but they have good barbecue.
They do have they have a lot of barbecue for sure. But also, what was I just going to say? I lost it.
Were you going to say they have Austin, Texas, with the culture and music and art surrounding that?
Yeah, and Austin, Texas is becoming like the new Silicon Valley, so I hear.
Yeah, they got Willie Nelson.
It's got Six Flags.
You've got some good national parks.
It's where JFK was killed, which in itself is not good,
but fun.
It has a very good museum for that there.
And that's all we got. That's what I'm going to say that CNBC is wrong on Texas.
I could see Texas being around number 10, but I wouldn't put them way up at number 2.
No.
But, part of it's probably just because they're in the news so much this year. And Texas is also the state that I hear most often where all the citizens are like, we don't fucking need Uncle Sam. Break us off. We're our own country. We fly the Texas flag higher than the U.S. flag. By God.
We're getting broken off into pieces very quickly.
Shout out to all of our listeners in Texas. I do like Texas, but I just don't like the politics of Texas.
Guess another state.
Well, let's do Oklahoma. Number 9.
Oklahoma is not one of the 10 worst states to live in 2021, according to this list.
It's surprising because I know Oklahoma ranks very low in education, and I think it's like in the top 3, the highest obesity rates, and
yeah,
there's a lot.
We've got a lot of corruption. We've got a Doi Doi as a governor.
Shout out to the governor listening to the show.
Hey, Governor Doi Doi, eat my butt.
That's a hell of a thing to think about, eating a butt.
Just chomping right down on it.
You and Albert Fish, right?
He's welcome to have it.
Well, you and I have lived in Tulsa. I mean, you've lived here your whole life. I've lived here most of my life. And I'd say that Tulsa itself is getting progressively more progressive over the years. Still a long way to go, but there's hope here, especially in light of, the Tulsa race massacre of 1921. We've talked about this, I think, on the show, that was not really touched on in our schools growing up.
I was going to point out, you didn't quite stumble over it, but I'm sure you paused a second, remembered not to say Tulsa race riot, because that is how we
Yeah.
I went to school and college here, and I didn't learn about it until I was until I worked in a newsroom, and they were like running a whole huge article and website about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did learn about it, they were still calling it the Tulsa Race Riot.
Yeah, they're trying to shift the blame.
Right.
That's what it is called here. At least it was. Yeah. And I had heard of it in passing, but I would say before like the last year or two, before like the George Floyd stuff, if you were to separate from there, but if you go before that, I'll bet 3 out of 10 Tulsans that you surveyed would know about it at most. Yeah. And now it's very much in the forefront, and it's being built back up, and there's a lot going on there that's good and positive. So that's just serves as an example of what I'm saying about becoming more progressive.
Probably what kept us out of the top 10.
Yeah.
Which you need to get cracking on.
All right, let me give you another guess. Home of Mitch McConnell, and that is Kentucky.
Kentucky is not in the top 10, but...
Okay, well, what is this list, Brandon? Are you making this shit up?
No, there's still plenty of shitholes to go around.
All right, I'm going to go with what I believe is the state that's 50th out of 50 in education, last I heard, and that's Mississippi.
It is 50th and 50th of education, but it's not on this list. Again,
okay.
I think CNBC had a vendetta.
What's this guy's name, the writer?
Scott Cohn. C-O-H-N.
I think we need to go pay Scott a visit and let him know how wrong his
Hey, this content that we adapted for our podcast, we don't fucking like it.
All right, how about Arkansas?
Arkansas is in the top 10. It's number 8.
Okay.
It's one of the worst places to live 2021. And let's find out why CNBC says that. Mostly relating to voting. Voting in Arkansas was already no picnic. This year's state made it even harder with legislation. The ACLU called it a dangerous assault on the right to vote since the Jim Crow era. More about voter restrictions and stricter ID requirements. They also have a high crime rate and low rate of COVID-19 vaccinations. The strengths for Arkansas are air quality and hospital resources, and their weaknesses are voting rights, inclusiveness, health, and crime.
And Walmart.
Yeah, it is a good place. If you enjoy having racist people around, it is a good place for that.
That's a good way to put it.
I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. There are a few good things about it.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm,
You know what it is. Most of the people in the U.S. may not know. So I looked it up so I could describe Eureka Springs. It's a tourist destination in the Ozark Valley, or mountains. There's valleys and mountains in the Ozarks, for its unique character as a Victorian resort village. The city has steep, winding streets filled with Victorian-style cottages and manors. It has a historic commercial downtown with an extensive streetscape of well-preserved Victorian buildings and a haunted hotel.
I have not been to the haunted hotel. Have you?
I have been in it. I didn't stay there, but I had lunch next to it, and then we went and checked it out.
How many ghosts fondled you inappropriately while you were inside?
None. That's why we left. So that's a good place. It also has hot springs. There's a place called Hot Springs, Arkansas.
I've been there.
Did you enjoy the historic bathhouses?
So when you go to the touristy downtownish part of Hot Springs, it's kind of trashy.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good places to eat, but it's kind of just, yeah. But the Hot Springs part of Hot Springs, which is Hot Springs, that's cool.
Yeah.
And there's some good lakes there as well. We stayed on the lake.
So you didn't go into the bathhouses?
No, I was with my mother and father, so...
But they went in.
They went in, and I sat outside and waited. I'll tell you, though, I guess a good way to summarize the positives of Arkansas is it's a great outdoor state.
Yep.
A lot of green, a lot of lakes.
Got some nice parks, creeks and rivers. They gave us Johnny Cash, Scottie Pippen, and Bill Clinton.
Scottie Pippen?
Yeah, he's from Arkansas. They all got right the fuck out of there, though.
Well, not Clinton. He spent a long time there. He became governor.
Yeah, but he got out.
He did get out, but...
All the way to the top.
All the way to the top, and then back down to the bottom.
Yeah. You owe me another guess. You owe me 8 more correct guesses.
I've been picking on the South a lot.
Well,
so
there's a good reason to do so.
Yeah, I'll come back to the South, believe me. But let me get out of the South for a little bit and give you another guess. Let me go with Montana.
Nope, no Montana.
North Dakota.
No, and I wondered if North Dakota, South Dakota, or like Wyoming would show up on this, those sort of north and western, sort of more open, pioneery states.
Yeah.
No, they're not on here. They must have really good, I bet they all have great air quality, and they all have beautiful national parks and stuff.
Yeah, no, Montana's like on my to-do list for sure.
But due to the political leanings of this list, yes, Montana.
It's not just that, it's also the smaller populations, which might equate to like less opportunities, things like that. That's all I was going for. So how about, I don't know if the state's considered the South. If so, it's like on the edge, and that is Missouri.
Missouri is one of 2 states tied for number 3 on the list. There's 2 number 3s.
I knew it.
Yeah, Missouri, tied for number 3, is, according to CNBC, an unlivable shithole in the year 2021. According to the Center for Election Innovation and Research, sounds like a boring place to work.
Yeah.
Missouri is just one of 6 states that does not allow universal early voting. They lag in public health funding. The state does, not the people living there, I guess. It has one of the nation's highest crime rates, with burglary and aggravated assault among the most prevalent in the most recent FBI crime statistics. Its strength is hospital resources. Its weaknesses are voting rights, crime, and public health.
Everything else besides hospital resources.
They do have some high crime cities. I know St. Louis was a popular one to feature on cops.
Oh, yeah. We just talked about cops.
But let's give them some good points about Missouri.
Okay. The barbecue in Kansas City.
Kansas City barbecue is the first thing that I listed.
Is that the best barbecue in the country, you think? If not, then what is?
It's my favorite type. It's my favorite type of barbecue. Yeah. I like it. I like that sloppy barbecue.
I got some more sloppy joes for you.
I didn't know this, and I think this is a positive. CNBC would probably list this as a negative against Missouri, but I list this as a positive. I think this is fun. They have the U.S.'s most permissive alcohol laws. Did you know this? That in Missouri, their law expressly allows parents and guardians to serve alcohol to their children.
Oh, I don't understand that. So I go to a bar. I'm 21. Yeah. I have a 17-year-old son with me.
Or 8.
Or 8, fine. If you want to be fucking boring. I was trying to spice it up a little. So I have an 8-year-old.
Wait, how old are you?
I was 21 and I had a 17-year-old son.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, sure. Got it.
Let's go 21 and 8. You're right. That makes more sense. So I buy an alcohol from the waiter at the restaurant. And then while the waiter's standing there, I take that beer he gives me and I put it in front of my son and say, "Drink up, son." That's legal.
According to the 2 sentences that I read on Wikipedia, yes. Their law expressly allows parents and guardians. You could go to...
So you're a babysitter.
You could go to the VFW with your grandpa and have like 3 fingers of scotch and listen to old guys tell war stories.
If you're 8 years old, you're saying.
If your grandpa serves it to you. It has to be your guardian or your parent serving it to you.
But I wonder if like a waiter in a Missouri restaurant would even know that law. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why you have to carry a copy of the law with you. My child is not ordering a beer. I am ordering a beer, and I am serving my child, which is expressly allowed in the Missouri laws. Waiter.
And you break it out of your wallet and unfold it. It's folded up like 30,000 times to fit in your wallet. Pull it out.
People are pulling out their iPhones to record you and put you on social media as your voice raises. I would like to order a beer here. Not be discriminated against.
Yeah. I mean, it would not take a lot of beer to get an 8-year-old drunk.
No. It'd be,
But at least he's not driving home.
Yeah, in another world, it would be pretty funny.
Yeah, not this world.
So more positives about Missouri. I think they just approved medical marijuana, so that's fun. They have caves. Have a shitload of caves.
Yes.
And some might argue with it, but I think it's a fucking positive. Branson.
No, that's a negative.
I like Branson. The world needs places that are just lame as hell and proud of it.
You described it one time as Branson, Missouri is like if Ned Flanders ran Las Vegas, right? Uh-huh. That's a good way to put it.
Boxcar Willie and Andy Williams had like 2 of the biggest theaters there.
Boxcar Willie.
And Ray Stevens. Okay, guess another state that's bad to live in 2021.
Well, we mentioned barbecue.
Yeah.
You can't talk about barbecue in the U.S. without bringing up Brandon's favorite city, Memphis. How about
In
Tennessee?
Tennessee is number 5 on the list.
I knew it.
I actually list Memphis as a positive about Tennessee. According to CNBC, they say the Tennessee lawmakers took aim at the state's transgender population in a big way in 2021, passing a flurry of bills that included a ban on transgender girls participating in girls' sports, restrictions on the use of public bathrooms and school locker rooms, and a ban on gender-affirming care for minors.
Because this is the most urgent
I was
shit to
gonna
deal with
say,
in our country today.
Like, does this affect like maybe 4 or 5 total Tennesseans?
I mean, we're dealing with so much shit in this country.
Yeah, I mean, you can live there and be like, I disagree with that. They should let those girls play the sport. Or you could say, I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't want to pick a side in that. I just want to be nice to people, I guess. But
Can't do that in Tennessee. Can't be nice to people. It's written in their laws.
according to CNBC, they also, their residents suffer poor health, a low rate of COVID-19 vaccinations, and a high crime rate. Their strength, again, is hospital resources. I mean, they got to have hospitals for all the poor health, unvaccinated, getting violent crimed.
Yes.
Their weaknesses are inclusiveness, crime, and COVID vaccination. But their positives, I said Memphis barbecue and music history.
Yes.
And along with music history, Nashville, although I don't know if current Nashville is a net positive.
I was just there like 2 weeks ago.
Is it a net positive? You're the boots on the ground.
I didn't get the full Nashville experience because I was only there for like a day with family.
The full Nashville experience is when George Jones sticks his finger up your butt.
Well, I did get that, so maybe I did get the full experience.
He
it
goes,
was fine, whatever.
Ooh, white lightning.
What did he say at the end?
White lightning, that's his song. And his finger jams up your ass. Woo! White lightning.
Oh, man. Nashville's fine, whatever.
All right, that's Tennessee. Give us another state.
Is there anything not in the South?
Yes. There's 1 state in the Midwest and 2 in the Western Desert.
Oh, okay. Western Desert, Nevada.
Nevada is the other state tied for number 3 on this list, alongside Missouri.
Wow, I did not expect that.
Now, I have a lot of disagreements about Nevada. I can make an argument for all of these states being a fine place to live. And we'll try to do so with Nevada as well here. They say, though, that no state spends less on the health of its citizens than Nevada does, just $50 per person for public health.
Wow.
Nevada also ranks dead last in primary care doctors per person. Air quality in the desert is poor and crime is high. Unlike many of the states on this list, Nevada is expanding voting rights, with Governor Steve Sisolak signing a package of legislation in June to expand mail-in voting, streamline registration, and end this fucking stupid caucus system in favor of regular old presidential primaries. So they're doing good on voting rights and inclusiveness, but their weaknesses are public health funding, hospital resources, and air quality.
And fucking heat.
And heat. Like, what the fuck kind of heat?
Yeah, which a part of me thinks I might like living there because, yes, the fucking summers will suck, but the winters are nice.
Yeah. It still gets pretty cold at night in the winter. But yeah, like, I can remember certain times of Las Vegas, and it gets really hot in Oklahoma too, but there's something different about the dry Las Vegas, smack you in the face, feel like you're in an oven heat, where I've walked outside and immediately been like, what the fuck? Like, just look around, like, what is this? Why would somebody move to this? And the answer is that they didn't until they artificially trucked in a bunch of water so that people could stay alive in an unhospitable place. But I do love the desert. So Las Vegas specifically, I want to say that I like the idea of cities that are set aside for play and recreation. Every time I've been to Las Vegas, I have had a pretty fun time. But at the same time, it is like a soulless hellhole, like a dystopian come and play while the world burns type of place.
Yes.
So I don't know what
that
to
should
say
be
about
on the sign, the Welcome to Las Vegas sign.
Let's have fun while the world burns. Yeah, it is a fun place. Nevada is cool about prostitution and weed.
which you and I are both in favor of those being legalized.
Yeah, it's a good place to bury bodies or to look for UFOs. Or,
I know about the dead body burying. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Nevada has a ton of great national parks.
Would you believe I've never been to Las Vegas?
Oh, no. I would have assumed that I had been there with you through work.
No.
I've been there for fun before, but most of the times I've been there have been related to a work function.
And when you do go there for work functions, do you cut down on the amount of the amount of sex workers you go through in a night?
I don't have...
Because you're trying to be professional?
No, I don't have to spend anything. They're usually included. There's usually a
an allowance.
Prostitute per diem.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I hope to go someday.
That's Nevada.
Hey guys, do you want to gain an advantage with your sports bets? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their best bets algorithm scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. Their algorithm covers everything from spreads, over-unders, and player prop bets. Plus, the BetQL platform is loaded up with all the tools to make you a more informed bettor, bar none. Tools like line movement and sharp data on who the pros are backing, team summaries highlighting previous success against the spread and over-under, team lineup, breaking news and injury status updates, and leaderboards to track how you stack up against others and to view your winning streaks. Better data, better bets. Head over to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL. You can also head to betql.co/bluewire to get started now. Enter the discount code BLUEWIRE at payment checkout for 25% off any of their subscription offerings. Don't miss out on the chance to gain your betting advantage.
No team can afford to overpay for talent. Build a championship team with Indeed, the smart way to only pay for quality candidates that meet your must-have requirements. When hiring gets hard, you need Indeed, the job site that makes hiring incredibly simple. Just attract, interview, and hire. In fact, with Indeed, you can do all of your hiring in just one place. Indeed knows how important it is to make the most of your recruiting hours and dollars. And with Indeed, you can save time and money by setting your must-have qualifications and only pay for the quality candidates that meet them. Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/BlueWire. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/BlueWire. Indeed.com/BlueWire. Offer valid through September 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
I want to go back to Missouri for a second. You know, Missouri's nickname, states all have nicknames, like Oklahoma's the Sooner State, Texas is the Lone Star State, Missouri is the Show Me State.
Yep.
Show Me State. What are they fucking showing over there?
You're whipping their dicks out.
Do you know?
That's why there's so much crime. People are whipping their dicks out and someone else is like, fuck that, shoots them.
Well, then wouldn't it be the Shoot 'em State?
No, because they just trust me on this. They made a mistake
with
the name, and that's what's largely what's led to all this chaos.
Because of the nickname, they legally are required to allow you to whip it out and show me.
Right.
All right, I'll give you another guess. You mentioned 2 desertous states, so then I have to think the other one is Arizona.
Arizona is CNBC's #1 worst state.
No.
Worst state to live in 2021, they say.
Arizona's got a lot going for it.
Listen to their rationale. They say natural beauty is abundant in the Grand Canyon state, but so is ozone, particularly in heavily populated Maricopa County. It's home to Phoenix and some of the worst air quality in the nation, according to the American Lung Association. But what do they know about air quality?
But who gives a fuck about air quality? We're all dying anyway.
Arizona is stingy when it comes to public health funding. They've had a shortage of doctors and mental health providers. Even though there is no evidence of election fraud in Arizona, and not for lack of trying to find it, state lawmakers passed new restrictions on mail voting this year.
Yeah.
So their strengths, according to this, are that Arizona scored poorly in all metrics. So they don't get a strength. They would have no strength.
They got the Grand Canyon. That's the biggest strength. That's the hell of a strength.
Because it's got the Grand Canyon. It's the first thing I mentioned. And then I started thinking about other stuff they have. They have Grand Canyon, Sedona, Flagstaff. They have...
they got the big meteor crater there in Flagstaff.
A meteor site?
Yeah, I've been there. This is all outdoor shit,
I've seen
I've
seen the meteor thing, too. I've driven by. It's a big crater, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
I drove past that. I also drove past the petrified forest.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, so it's great for people who like to do things that are outside when it's hot as fuck.
Yeah.
And they have fun cowboy shit to do. Tombstone is there. It's bad for people who don't like to stand inside a baking oven.
These things are all things that won't affect the quality of life of residents. These are things that are great for tourists to do. So therefore, I guess I could see it being high on the list. Speaking of getting high on a list, I'm high as fuck on Reddit. I want everyone listening to pause the show, open up Reddit, do a search for Tennis Pod, and join the Tennis Pod subreddit. We don't even run this fucking thing. It's run by a listener, but we support it, and we think it's a cool place to interact with other fucking weirdos like you. So if you want, again, go to Reddit, search for Tennis Pod, and join. And then a day or two after every episode, there's a discussion thread posted where you can discuss the show and the episode, shoot the shit, and dish with other listeners. Speaking of dishing, I'm going to give you another guess. Are you ready?
So there are 4 states remaining. Number 6, number 7, number 9, number 10. 3 of them are southern states, and 1 is a Midwestern state. 1 is the quintessential Midwestern state, I would say.
Kansas?
No.
Nebraska?
No.
Midwestern?
Not Midwestern.
Iowa?
Enough. Closer. Warmer.
Iowa. Well, it can't be Minnesota.
No.
Illinois?
Nope. This is an easily forgettable state, I think.
Ohio?
No.
This is pissing me off.
You're hitting, like, if this was a bullseye, you've hit, like, the ring just around it. Everywhere but the bullseye.
Wisconsin?
No.
Michigan?
No. You've been there with me multiple times for work, not for pleasure.
Oh, of course. Indiana.
Indiana.
Yes. I knew it. I was just bringing the listeners on for a ride. That's all.
It's so Midwestern you forgot it existed.
Yeah.
It's number 10 on the list. It ranks 48th public health funding per capita, according to the United Health Foundation. They spend $55 per person. That hasn't been helping them get through the pandemic. Their hospitals are generally adequate, but their COVID-19 vaccination rates have lagged, according to the CDC. Their public accommodation law doesn't cover discrimination based on age, sexual orientation, or gender identity, which is fucking wild. In April, the state amended its already restrictive voting law to replace new limits on mail-in voting. Strength, hospital resources, weaknesses, public health funding, voting rights, inclusiveness, and air quality. So,
and it's also the home to that betraying Republican in name only rhino fucking Benedict Arnold Mike Pence.
Wait, what now? Oh, Benedict Arnold, yeah.
Because he betrayed our Lord and Savior Donald Trump.
Well, hasn't he sniveled right back up to his butt cheeks again?
That is a visual I do want to see, though.
So I struggled on Indiana for the positives. The Indy 500 itself, it's a pretty unique thing they got there.
Downtown Indianapolis isn't bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. If you don't like hunting, only 2% of Indiana consists of open places for the public to hunt. So it's a hunter's nightmare in Indiana.
Well, does that mean there's just not a lot of open green places?
It means open places for the public to hunt. Probably means it's, private property people are murdering animals right and left. Their bloodlust knows no bounds on their private property.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Indiana number 10.
Yeah, you and I have been doing Indiana a lot because we used to have a work function there every year in Indianapolis.
The International Gigolos Ball.
That's right. We were speakers, keynote speakers one year. But really, that's the only time I've ever been there is going to that show, or going to that event, which is in the downtown area at the convention center. So I didn't get to venture too far out, but from what I saw, nice little downtown, but I wouldn't want to live in Indiana. No offense to our Indiana listeners.
No offense to the Indians out there.
Yeah.
All right.
So I just need 6, 7, 9, right?
Yeah, and they're all in the South.
Georgia.
Georgia is number 6 on the list of the worst states to live in America in 2021. Their sweeping new voting restrictions set the tone for similar legislation across the country. They are trendsetters in fucking over black people.
Yeah.
Business backlash followed, though. Major League Baseball pulled this year's All-Star game out of Atlanta. The state ranks 49th in an index of voting difficulty calculated by research at Northern Illinois University. Proponents of the new laws note that the Peach State allows no excuse absentee voting, while President Joe Biden's home state of Delaware does not. The broad crackdown on supposed election fraud, despite no evidence of the fraud in 2020, has drawn widespread scorn in the business world. A lot of companies crapped all over Georgia, which sucks because they have, Atlanta was a big place, or is still a big place to go and film stuff. Georgia,
The Peach State, though, how can you be mad at a peach?
they also have no statewide protections against discrimination. Which seems,
I don't even know how that's a thing in 2021.
Seems like, so I can go to Georgia and just treat people as horribly as I want and be like, well, there's no law against it.
Yeah, again, you have to unfold the laws out of your wallet.
Georgia's strength is air quality. I guess they're not counting fucking humidity. Weaknesses are COVID vaccinations, voting rights, and hospital resources. So I again struggled with good points on Georgia if you aren't into college football.
And I'm not.
Got great place for college football. Great place for Southern food.
Yes,
I think that's where the Chick-fil-A sandwich comes out of the state of Georgia.
But that's a mixed bag because while the Chick-fil-A sandwich is delicious, probably the best fast food chicken sandwich there is, Chick-fil-A, the company, is fucking pieces of shit. So what are you going to do?
Well, I don't know what you're going to do. The chicken tastes too good. Also, I put this as a positive. They're funny accents.
Okay, I put that as a negative.
You put it as a negative? I
don't know.
I love that
I don't
accent.
really have an opinion on it. But, I'll tell you this about Atlanta. They got a nice, big, huge airport that I've been in a million times.
Oh, that's right. And you've been very hungry.
And that's also, you're intimately familiar. You're intimately familiar with that exact airport for reasons that I won't get into again on the show.
Yeah. Okay, give me two more of the worst states to live in 2021.
And they're in the South.
And they're in the South.
Alabama.
Alabama is number 7.
They got beautiful beaches, though.
And we all have heard this is a sweet home. It's not. It's the nation's second lowest COVID vaccination rate after Mississippi. That has led to concerns the state could become a vector for more contagious variants of the virus. We could come out with the Crimson Tide version of the virus. The Yellowhammer State has serious health issues beyond COVID, with one of the nation's highest rates of premature death. Death is even worse than having COVID, and the second highest rate of cardiovascular disease, and the third highest rate of diabetes.
But the first highest rate
of good food.
Of fucking freedom.
Yeah.
And good food.
According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, Alabama is just one of 5 states with no legal protections against discriminations for its non-disabled citizens.
Great.
I'm sorry, you shouldn't laugh when you say it, but it's so fucked up. Why? Everyone else has, and it's there's no reason not to have it. There's many reasons to have those protections.
I think you're just trying to push the liberal agenda. That's what I think.
I think if you're facing discrimination and you're non-disabled in the state of Alabama, you need to disable yourself and then form a lawsuit.
Or disable yourself from the state.
Some good things about Alabama. They've got good beaches, but it's a very small part of the state. If Alabama was sitting on the panhandle of Florida, their ass, probably because they got diabetes, is hanging off the edge of the seat.
Oh, baby.
And where their ass hangs off the edge of the seat and touches the ocean, they've got really nice beaches.
I never thought of it that way, but they do have great ass beaches, yes.
It's another good college football state.
Who gives a fuck?
They have the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville.
Cool.
If you want to send your kids to space camp, unlike my parents.
I can't think of Alabama without thinking of the podcast Shittown or S-Town.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
Which is based in Alabama.
Yeah.
Well, should I break into Sweet Home Alabama now or wait till later in the show?
Hold it for a bonus episode that we'll never release. And give me one more of the worst states to live in. Give me number 9. Tell it to me.
Okay. We'll pair the Sweet Home Alabama bonus with the Santa Baby bonus from you. For my guess for number 9, still in the South. I'm running out of southern states. How about South Carolina?
No. Idiot. Wrong.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Virginia, I think, is considered the South.
You're going in the wrong direction.
Going in the wrong direction.
Turn
okay.
around.
I've got all the states that touch Florida, right? Georgia, Alabama, West Virginia?
No.
North Carolina?
No.
What am I forgetting in the South here?
It's almost as south as you can get. They don't come much more south.
Well, I got Texas and Florida. Those are the two most southern.
Okay, I said they don't come much more south than the great state of... Say it.
I can't.
Louisiana.
Louisiana. God damn it. Fuck you, Louisiana. What are you fucking doing?
Son of a bitch. And it shouldn't be on this list. Well, maybe it should.
It should.
There's some points on here. So Louisiana is America's least healthy state, with high rates of obesity, smoking, and premature death.
Good reason, though, because they got some good-ass food.
Likely aggravated by the nation's highest poverty rate at 19%. Have also got one of the nation's highest crime rates and one of the lowest COVID-19 vaccination rates. According to the Center for Election Innovation and Research, it's one of the handful of states requiring an excuse to vote absentee. You have to tell them why you want to do it. And the state offers just 7 days of early voting, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. So their strength is hospital resources. Once again, got that much diabetes, you got to have a lot of hospital resources. Weaknesses are health, crime, COVID vaccinations, and voting rights.
And butts.
So my positives largely center around New Orleans.
Yeah.
The music, food, art, and culture of New Orleans. Love it all.
I do love the history of New Orleans. And as you walk through, you can just like feel it. You can just feel that history. I do love that.
And I wrote down alligators.
Well, okay.
Just alligators. They got them there in that state. Alligators.
That's not positive.
I think it's I'm not going by them. I'm glad that they're there.
Well, we'll see if it's still a positive to you when they bite your fucking dick off in your sleep.
But I said I'm not going there. I'm not going to go by.
They show up in people's yards and shit.
I'm not staying in a yard in Louisiana. I'm not staying on grass. I'm going to stay on the vomit-covered sidewalks of New Orleans.
Well, there's still a negative and you're wrong.
Are there any more positives about Louisiana?
Let's see. We hit the food, the history, the culture. I like...
Is there anything outside of New Orleans?
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
Everything outside of New Orleans to me is what happened in the show True Detective.
Yes. And it's all bad.
Yeah. It's not a happy place.
Sorry, people. Hey, we think where we live, Oklahoma, fucking sucks too. So we're allowed to shit on any state. So sorry. All right, I did it. I guessed correctly all 10 in correct order without any wrong.
Yeah, it was incredible. You are an idiot savant.
Thank you.
Once again, those 10 worst states to live in America in 2021, as harshly judged by CNBC in this year's America's Top States for Business, were number 10, Indiana, number 9, Louisiana, 8, Arkansas, 7, Alabama, 6, Georgia, 5, Tennessee, tied for number 3, Missouri and Nevada, number 2, Texas, and number 1, Arizona.
I like how the show me state, Missouri and Nevada, they just couldn't break them up. They said, they're just too close. We have to have 2 number 3s. We can't have one be number 4.
Yeah, was it really so fucking scientifically close? Between Nevada and Missouri, you couldn't say, oh, well, one has a whole city devoted to pleasure and leisure, and the other has a pretty checkered past when it comes to slavery.
And also, people are whipping their dicks out all over the place.
Yeah. Should have been obvious.
I'm with you. Something else obvious to me is that the people can't get enough of the show. I'm going to read some podcast reviews real quick. First one comes from Potato Lady Pod Reviews on Podchaser. I love trivia, behind-the-scenes info, and guessing games, so this podcast is right up my alley. This production is incredibly high quality, crisp, clear audio, engaging hosts, laugh out loud funny. The show is on my top 10 list for sure.
Thank you. I like it when they praise the audio quality.
Yeah, you have a lot to do with that, huh?
Yeah.
Couldn't read her review without this line sticking out to me. It says, this podcast is right up my alley, and I just can't help but think about who was it the White Lightning guy's finger was up my alley as well. Thank you, Potato Lady. The next one is from Rachel is Awesome on Apple Podcasts. She says, listener of the show, I do not care what the top 10 of any list is yet. I find this podcast weirdly entertaining. The host and sidekick host are authentically hilarious.
Weirdly entertaining is this shouldn't be entertaining. It's a nice backhanded compliment.
She finds us authentically hilarious.
Thanks, I love it.
Hang on, there's more. Discussions of water being replaced by peanut butter and compliments to dudes' butts is to be expected in every episode. If you're easily offended, just unsubscribe right now. Looking at you, Karen. Otherwise, you found yourself a great podcast. Thanks for making the show, you dorks.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot to digest there.
It was a really on-brand review.
Authentically hilarious, weirdly entertaining, water being replaced by peanut butter, compliments to dudes' butts, Karens, and calling us dorks. That was all in one review.
Some butts are worth giving, shout out to.
Which dudes' butts do you appreciate today, Brandon? Which come to mind?
I don't think I've seen... The only dudes' butts I've seen today have been like tiny ones around my house. Those are my kids, not like my captives.
What about, remember the guy from Law & Order whose butt was like trending on Twitter?
Oh, Christopher Maloney, he's got a big old bubble butt. Yeah, if I had to say
that butt is worth seeking out online.
And he flaunts it too. He knows it's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to say, of all the butts out there, let's go with Christopher Maloney as top butt.
Yeah, MVP of butts. All right, well, I'd like to thank Rachel and Potato Lady for their reviews. And if you want me to read your review, men's butts included or not, just go to Apple Podcasts or you can go to podchaser.com. And if you leave a review there, I will read it eventually. Thank you.
Thanks.
Brandon?
That's that.
Next week is episode 145. It's a groundbreaking milestone, and I got a good old list for you ready.
Cool.
I'm really looking forward to it.
I don't know what the milestone is, but I'm ready to celebrate it.
Meanwhile, I hope everyone listening will take a moment to follow us on Twitter. I'm at the Nick Amel. Amel is EMEL. And Brandon is at Sidekick Coast. You can also follow us, the brand, at Tennis Pod. And if you haven't already, go follow our new Tennis Pod subreddit. We're going to be back next week with episode 145. It's going to blow your mind. Till then, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.